What's going on, everybody? Artie here for another sports show on LOD Fridays, as my co-host says, John Finkel. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good. It's people don't realize it, but it's Polo Shirt Friday as well. We coordinated our. We must have both been thinking about a little like Saved by the Bell preppy era. So we're all set.
I was wondering too because I got something later on today, and I was like, should I just put like a jersey on or one of my stupid like fun shirts? I'm like, nah, this will be fine. And then all of a sudden, I see you pop on the screen. I'm like, wait, you're wearing the same shirt? Sweet.
That kind of day. I felt like step it up Friday. You know what I mean?
Step it up Friday. Everybody, again, we always appreciate you checking out the Life of Dad Sports Show. Today, the topic, let us know where you're watching from, and always feel free to weigh in on the subject. Our subject today is family fan rules. And this is kind of a thing where it's like, in your home, do you have, like, if you're cheering for the Patriots, your kids have to root for the Patriots and all that good stuff. So let us know. We got someone weighing in right now. Joanne says, nope. That's good.
Yeah.
And Brandon says, only team we cheer for is ballerinas and princesses. Nice.
Yeah. I mean, you can always get on Team Disney Princess and win. That's obviously an easy thing to do. And I think we'll stipulate that it's a whole conversation. If you happen to grow up in sports matter to you as a husband, dad or mom, and your kid's into sports, that's a win in general. So we're already talking about, the positive side of this. I have friends, I'm sure you do too, who are huge sports fans whose kids could care less. And it's fine, but it's nice if there you go. Thank you, Tate. Exactly. We need our Seinfeld white shoes.
Hey, first of all, quickly, because we're talking about sneakers, and you and I definitely have a thing for sneakers. Seinfeld actually wore some Bo Jacksons. Like, if you kind of watch back, he wore some of the SC trainers, some of the first Bo Jackson things as well. Sometimes he wore the dad, like, all-white New Balance shoes.
Yeah.
But there are certain times I'm like, man, he's wearing the SC trainers. That's cool.
I know.
What are you talking about?
I feel like I'm dressed up to play the part of just a regular dad, like who's I have at least I still have Air Force Ones on, so that's a little different. I don't have loafers.
Nice. Yeah, I'm wearing the Air Jordan Low 11s that have the same colorway as this shirt. So.
Okay, yeah. So we're not, we don't have penny loafers on, or white old New Balance or something like that. But I'm not tucked in either. I'm sure you aren't. So there you go. So we're letting our freak flag fly a little bit in the 40-ish dad world.
I love Corey here saying, no, but it comes natural when you root for a winner, Steelers. There you go.
I hear you. So listen, I'm going to surprise you. For this particular topic, I put together a game which will help us guide through this discussion. I think the listeners will appreciate how the game is. And this, Luke, this is kind of what this goes into. So I have a game. I have rules that I put together for us for this particular topic.
Comes correct on LOD Fridays.
I put on a polo shirt. I got organized. Everything started to happen. Okay, so the game is called Acceptable or Unacceptable.
Okay.
And the topic is how your kids and how they decide to root for different sports teams and what you root for. Okay, so Ray, so here it is.
Do you see Ray's right there?
They will out of there you go. See, Ray's. Okay, so here you go. So listeners, you can write also as we go in either acceptable or unacceptable in this scenario, but Art, you can be the arbiter here. So number one question, is this acceptable or unacceptable? You live in the city that you live in, which you're a diehard fan of, but your kid roots for the rival team. Acceptable or unacceptable?
Oof. Are we asking everybody or me?
I'm asking you as the conversation starter, but people can write in if they find it's acceptable or unacceptable. So for me growing up in Boston, with my dad growing up in Boston, if during that time I was inexplicably just a Yankees fan, is that acceptable or is it unacceptable?
First of all, Susan, thanks for asking. Dad bod, check out John Finkel's Instagram page. He does not have the dad bod. This dude sweats before 6. I might have a little spare tire, but I'm trying to work that out. For the most part, I'm decent. I don't have that much of a dad bod, but yeah, not that many dad bods here. Hopefully, it's
right. We're anti-dad bod. So acceptable, unacceptable. You live in a city and your kid roots for the rival team.
I would say it's acceptable because if it bring like the whole idea of sports, no matter what it is, what does it do? It brings us together. If you're on a team, it brings you together for one common goal. Fans, they kind of go around and sit around the team, whether it's like the underdog or like, the people hate them because they're always winning championships. But if you're in that household and you and your children are sparking a conversation because let's just say you're rooting for the Giants and he's rooting for the, the Eagles. that's something where, you know, I don't think you guys are going to have blowout fights and fisticuffs. Hopefully there has been been like videos, but I would say like if it, you know, sparks some good conversation and then like, you know, leads to like playing sports together or doing other things, I will allow it.
So I agree with you on all points, but I find it unacceptable. My thought on that would be you can do all of those things while also rooting for the same team. And if there's no connection whatsoever, if your son, if you're living, as you said, if you're living in New York and you're a Giants fan, and your 6-year-old or say 10-year-old, that's a better age, has absolutely no connection to the Eagles except for the fact that he's antagonizing you, you got to bring him around. There's no tie there, so you got to try to bring him around. Obviously, there's no wrong answer here, but I would say unacceptable. And here we'll get Jason. We will get to that later. That is a question later. Just hang on. That is, I believe that's number 5. Okay, so
all right. TJ agrees with me. Acceptable. Thanks, TJ.
All right. Hey, look, this is why it's a discussion. All right, thank you, TJ. Right, they have to have a good argument. If the argument simply is, "I've never lived there, and you like this team, I don't like that team," unacceptable. Okay, so number 2.
Luke weighs in. He's like, acceptable, I guess.
I think you're on my side, Luke. I'm going to just take that as an unacceptable. Question number 2, okay? You used to live in a city. So say we'll use New York as an example. You lived in New York, you're a Yankee fan. Now you move to St. Louis. You remain a Yankee fan, but your kid who moved there becomes a Cardinals fan. Acceptable or unacceptable? Total switches allegiance. He's 12 years old. You move. Within 1 year, he's dropped entire thing. Now he's on a new team.
I'm torn on this one because I want to say accept non-sectable. I don't know. Is that such a word? I would say because I'm gonna be such a hypocrite when I say this. I'm gonna be talking for both. I want to say it's acceptable because let's just say he gets into a new school. He's wearing like a Yankees or Mets something, and the kid's like, "What are you wearing that for?" Is like, and then like those friends, like he makes friends because they're like almost like the Sandlot, where he becomes a Cardinals fan, whatever, because of that. But then it's like, too, it's like, don't give up just because you moved to the other area. I'm a Niners fan, I'm a Bulls fan, and I'm a Red Sox fan. Talk about different scenarios or not.
We're going to get to your scenario later. Don't you worry about it.
Oh, I want to say, like, you got to have your, you want to teach your kids, like, to stick with a team no matter what.
Loyalty.
So it's tough because then I see the friend side because, like, we moved a lot.
Let me help you out here. I'm going to help you for an answer. I think it's going to help you.
All right.
My thought with this one was, under 8 years old, perfectly acceptable. You don't have any under 8 years old.
Okay. Yep.
Acceptable. Your kid has no real context. They probably don't remember the context of the team winning, even if they're really good or bad. There's not a lot of loyalty there. So if you move, like for me, for instance, my kid's 5. There's nothing I can do. If he grows up a Rangers fan, whatever. However, if it's 10 or over, and the kid has 2 or 3 or 4 years of being a fan of your team, you got to instill loyalty. Got to show them that it matters. You got to, like I did this. You got to stick up for your team when you moved. And you can have a second or third favorite team, but I say under 8 acceptable, over 10 unacceptable, and 9 is a gray area.
I love this, man. You seriously are like the UN for like sports right now. I love this. I just want to make sure I'm just checking up on our page right now to make sure everything is rocking and rolling because I do you see the stuff that is popping up because I want to make sure you don't.
I don't see any more comments popping up now.
Okay, I do have a couple more that are coming in, but I don't see them on the screen. But it says Sean Long says they sure don't. There's a garage to protect them from all the elements. So he would kick them out. I love that.
Okay, good. There you go. All right, so number 3. There's 6 of them, by the way, so we're not going to go on forever. But this should keep us going. Number 3. This one I think you've seen and you've seen, and you may be a reason for this for your team, but I call this one the random fandom. So your kid at any age, wherever you live, just pick whatever, you're in Dallas, but for no reason whatsoever, no argument, your kid is just a diehard Packers fan. Just the completely random fan. You're not a rival of your team. They're not in your conference. Your kid just decided to hop on, the Milwaukee Brewers bandwagon. Acceptable or unacceptable?
Unacceptable, man.
Right? No ties to anything. That's just unacceptable.
Anything, nothing like along the lines of being like, oh, let's just say like for some reason you're watching college World Series, right? And like your son or daughter you're watching with, or your kids, and they're like for some reason they fell in love with this one dude that played for like Texas, right? And all of a sudden he gets drafted by the Brewers. That's the only way I would suggest you going, because like your kid really loves that dude from college. It's like, all right, cool. You're following that guy. You have a passion for baseball because of that guy. Sure, that's the I would say unacceptable only for that asterisk thing right there.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think if it's just a again, we're all caveat. You're happy your kid's in sports. It's all exciting. However, if it's just a random team from absolutely no tie, no connection, you got to rein that in and try to figure that out.
Nice. We have Steve saying unacceptable, Brandon saying acceptable. All bandwagons die.
Yes.
And Michael says acceptable.
Okay, good. All right. So this is
okay,
a bit of
one last thing. Yeah. Toby says, "Well, it's okay to have a favorite team in each conference, right?"
Oh, now we're getting into just we want our cake and eating it too as a sports fan, which is not how it works. This next one is actually tricky. This one I call the rule is the favorite player follower. So let's use Dwayne Wade as an example. Your kid grows he's a Dwayne Wade fan, not a Heat fan. So you're living in Miami. He's a Dwayne Wade fan. Wade goes to the Bulls. Now all of a sudden your kid's a Bulls fan. Then he's on Cleveland. All of a sudden he's a Cavs fan for absolutely no reason. And then your kid jumps back because he's back with the Heat. Acceptable or unacceptable if your kid is simply a favorite player follower?
Well, with that right here, Steve says team alliance, not player alliance.
Right. So there you go. So is it acceptable if your kid just follows his favorite player from team to team with no regard for the team, or is it unacceptable?
See, for us dads, because we're wearing our collared shirt, when we were growing up, I'm going to be like, get off my lawn here, right?
Yeah.
So free agency and all those things, it wasn't known, and this is a long description, sorry, but back then when we were growing up and we had a certain, favorite player, right? They didn't really trade the good ones. They would kind of let them, for the most part, let them play on that team, like that superstar, right?
Yeah.
Now it's like everybody, even players, fans know what's that line. It's a business now. It's not really a dream job. It's a business. So for kids to do that now, it's almost like you're age that 9 is a great area for that one question. I want to say nowadays fans who are kids growing up, I will say it's acceptable. Anyone for our age and over, not acceptable.
Yeah, I'm going through
that answer.
It's a good answer. I think you need that. So, my exact example of this was Isaiah Thomas, right? My son absolutely fell in love with Isaiah. Now, he's only 5, but I couldn't, he's not going to root for the Lakers. It's never going to happen. So, to me, it's unacceptable.
Wait, it's unacceptable for him to like the Lakers because of you, right?
I'm saying it's unacceptable on all counts. Yeah, you know what? I just changed what I wrote as I'm talking myself into it. I completely reversed what I wrote. I wrote acceptable, but now I find it unacceptable hearing the other side of the argument. So
Jason says unacceptable. You can like different players, but you stay true to your team.
Jason, you said it exactly. That's exactly the better phrase version of what came in my head than what I was thinking. So I think it's unacceptable.
Yes, it's acceptable because of free agency. I think you can still root for that team,
but you can't switch the whole. You can't. You can totally root for the player. I'm not saying don't root for the player. What I'm saying is, if using Dwayne Wade as an example, you're not all of a sudden watching every Cavs game for the 4 months that he was a rental player there just because of Dwayne Wade. You still have to stay a Heat fan.
Yeah,
my thought anyway.
I agree, man. Sean Kingbert says, in the age of super teams, players move all over. True.
Yeah, true.
Patrick says she will, raising her to be a Denver Broncos fan and Duke Blue Devil fan for life.
Wow, that's a hard cross to bear, the Blue Devil one. But go ahead, that's fine. All right, number 5.
Okay.
This is one we touched upon a few times, and I saved it for later. This is just called your kid is a bandwagon fan. And in that meaning that for me, for growing up in the 90s, you have the same thing. And I know you have various reasons for your teams that make sense in terms of not this. But I had friends who in the late 90s and high school and stuff were Cowboys fans, Bulls fans, Yankees fans. And it was like, you're just picking the winning teams. You can't have that. You cannot be a Bulls fan, a Cowboys fan, a Yankees fan in the 90s and claim any kind of real sports allegiance. So nowadays it'd be like a kid growing up and they're like, I just love the Patriots. I just absolutely love the Warriors. And I'm just a huge fan of the Yankees too. It's like you can't do that.
No,
unacceptable is what I say.
Unacceptable. That's right. Totally unacceptable. For me, growing up, because I was a Niners fan, I was born in South Bend in '79 when Joe Montana was playing there. Moved to play for the Niners, and so my dad, we were living there at the time. And he's like, I really like this Joe Montana guy. I want to follow his career. So he did that, and I became a Niners fan. I was still an Elvis Gerbach. No, not throwing shade on Elvis Gerbach. It's going to sound like I'm throwing shade. After Joe Montana and Steve Young, they had some down years. Yeah, Jeff Garcia, and some other guys brought them in here and there, but I was still, did I rock an Elvis Gerbach jersey? No, but I was still rooting for them.
Right.
Harrison Hurst, all those guys. Sure, I was still rooting for them. But I will say, like, there were a couple things. I do want to these are great, by the way. Thanks for coming correct with your questions. Sean Kingbert says, as long as my child never shows up in Spreewell shoes.
Yeah, that's
Were those the ones that went like had the rims on them and clockwise, right?
Yeah, you dress up as PJ Carlissimo, Sean, and then he'll come in as Latrell, and you can have that confrontation here.
Marley Page says, Packers fan with Jordy Nelson leaving is like what I mean when I cannot love the guy, even though he's going to be in black and silver.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, that's a player one. I think you don't forget that being a Packers fan and you watch him do other things. So I think that seems like everybody's pretty much saying it's unacceptable to switch to be a bandwagon fan. I think. Let's just say that we have one more question, and this one's probably the toughest one.
Before we get into that one, and these are great. Tom Kelly says, I'm from Philly, and I have four for four sports fans. I guess he loves all those teams in Philly. But he said, I love Joe Montana, Jeremy Roenick, Bo Jackson, Michael Jordan, and Vince Carter, etc. But I would never root for their teams. I appreciate the players.
Yeah, all right. Okay, that's fine. I can go with that. I mean, you appreciate play. Yeah, you have favorite teams. Like I mean, growing up, you probably agree. Like if you had asked me in the '90s, my real favorite baseball player was probably Ken Griffey Jr. But my team was the Sox. I followed the Sox. Back then without packages, I was never able to watch the Mariners play. But I love Griffey.
After your question, I got a follow-up question for you, and it's mostly for sneakerheads. But go ahead and leave with your last question. Man.
Okay, last question. Your blood. Your blood, your sweat, everything you put into them. They know the team that you like. They care about you. They love you. They see what you get into with your team, but they choose to root for another team because of a different family member. So they see you as a diehard Niners fan. Could be your wife, could be your father-in-law, could be a cousin their same age from another city, but they see what you're doing. They understand sports fandom, and they choose to tip their allegiance with another member of your family. Acceptable or unacceptable as a dad?
The way you're phrasing this, I know where you're going, and the way you sound. But for me, I'm gonna say it's acceptable because I don't want to be that guy that's like you have to root for this team. Like if there's another family member, again, like I said before, we're kind of sparks some like chatter and some talks. I'm like maybe you say like, hey, if my Niners beat your Cowboys, you got to do a couple more chores for me that you won't get paid for, or something along those lines, or like. They'll be like, you have to do one of my chores, Dad, if the Cowboys win. All right, cool. I'm kind of down with that. So I will say that's acceptable.
Unacceptable. Unacceptable. I'm fine with your moving. I'm fine with a whole lot of other things. What I'm not fine with is just out of nowhere, you're the one who's home. You're teaching him how to play baseball. You're teaching him how to do everything. You're watching the Sox every night in your house. I'm using me as an example. And out of nowhere, they become, and this isn't the case in my house because nobody cares about the Marlins, but just for instance, if out of nowhere my kid becomes a Marlins fan because my father-in-law still lives in Florida, like that's just unacceptable. We're not doing that. So I would take a different approach on that.
These are great. Your questions are definitely sparking up people's interest, man. So Steve says, ooh, excommunicate.
Yes.
Ray says, get out of my family. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Tom Kelly says, we've exiled those family members so we won't have to worry about them anymore. Laughs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then TJ, nice. I like this. Unacceptable. They can go live with them during the season.
Thank you, T. You're the one who's home. You're doing everything. You're putting a roof over their head. You're watching the sport of them, and they decide, cousin Joe is a really big, Rays fan because he lives in Tampa. We're not going to watch your favorite team, the Cubs. Like, no thanks. That's unacceptable.
Thanks, Linda. I'm glad you appreciate. Think we're funny. We appreciate. This is what we try and do here. Just have some little fun. Sports talk, whatever the case may be. I think everybody's digging this conversation. So I got to ask you, acceptable or unacceptable? Mm-hmm. You and I, we rock sneakers. This is mostly for sneakerheads. You kind of got to know the culture in the sense of like why you wear certain things. You're a Niners fan or, you're a Celtics fan, right? You got some like sick Air Force Ones. I probably know you're going to say unacceptable just because I know who you are. Like for me, like I have a couple of Jordans that would like go great with a Milwaukee Brewers throwback jersey. Is it all right if I wear that throwback jersey? Because
no,
come on.
Unless your name's Drake, the answer is no. I don't have any. You can do it with colleges. It's easy to you find a college that has a color that you like. You know, even if unless you're a diehard whatever, USC fan, you're not going to wear UCLA colors. But find a college, find a college that'll fit that, and that could be your out. But to just rock another professional sports team's jersey because it matches your shoes, I don't know. I don't think I could swing that. Plus, you're on a whole other level with that, by the way. I don't do the colorway shirt thing. I'm always impressed when I see your Instagram account of sneakers of the day. Like, that's so much more thought than I've ever put into anything matching in my life. Occasionally, I'd like my hats to match my shirts if I wear them. I have very base gray, black, and blue Air Force Ones that I wear every day with a variety of things. But I would say no, but I'm not as into it as you. I think there's a case to be made if it's a special event. You could probably figure it out. So I'm going to say unacceptable, but I wouldn't stop talking to you.
Tough love here at the sports show. I love it. Thank you, John. I love what David says right here. David, I think your daughter is already on her way, being 9 years old. He goes, I'm a Cardinal fan. My wife is a Cubs fan. Oof. But when those games go together, when they meet up. And my 9-year-old daughter refuses to pick a team. Smart girl right there.
Yes. You know what? Hey, tell your daughter there's a lot of room on the Red Sox bandwagon. We're 16-2. Tell her we'll get her some swag. We're more than happy to have her be a Red Sox fan. They're in a completely different division, completely different everything, but they win all the time. I'll get her a Mookie Betts jersey. We'll be friends.
Jason, nice job. Jason goes, gray or black shoes will match any sports teams. Unacceptable.
You could be the ruling on that. I would say for the most part, okay, but you're right. They probably aren't.
Sean King says throwbacks are acceptable. Nice.
Actually, you know what? Throwbacks are I hadn't thought about that. Like, there are some throwbacks. Let's say so for that rule, like, we'll say 25 years and before.
Okay.
Anything before 90, I'm doing quick math, which kills me, but anything before 93, you can wear for anything.
Gizmath says team sports or a tribal instinct. Wear a different uniform, get the side eye.
Yeah, like if you had an awesome pair of like blue and white shoes you wanted to wear, and you found like a sick 92 Drazen Petrovic jersey, like, I'm behind that. I can get behind.
Nice. All right, Ray goes, I don't know, we're a little over. Ray says, I have a throwback Patriots Bledsoe jersey, and it's just in my closet. Want to buy it?
I have one. I don't need to buy it. I have it. I break it out all the time. So, unfortunately, I have that. I also have Steve Grogan if someone has that as well. Okay,
here's a fun fact, and this is no way anybody set this up, but you Steve Grogan and Drew Bledsoe, guess what? All guests on the Life of Dad show.
Yeah.
So you check it out.
There you go. There you go. Always a good segue.
Nice. For John and I, we always appreciate you guys just having good times with us. Great conversation. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and we'll see y'all next Friday. See ya.